The trading platform that I use is TastyTrade. Why do I choose TastyTrade? It's because I'm primarily an options trader. As an options trader, I want to use a platform that really caters to options traders, that offers the best set of features for options trading, and that's TastyTrade. For one thing, TastyTrade was built by options traders, people that have traded options for decades. It was built by professional options traders, former floor traders on the CBOE, which is the Chicago Board Options Exchange. And TastyTrade just really, it has everything you want as an options trader without all the extra cruft that could get in the way. One of the biggest reasons I choose TastyTrade as my trading platform is because they have spent more than a decade giving out thousands and thousands of hours of free video content, because TastyTrade has a content network called Tasty Live. Tasty Live, you can find them on YouTube if you want to watch them on YouTube, or you can go to tastylive.com. Right now, I believe they are broadcasting for at least 10 hours, I think, every day, Monday through Friday. Every day the markets are open. You'll find, essentially, it's like a TV network, right? That's Tasty Live, right? But it's all about trading. It's all about trading, especially options content. They do a lot of back testing. They test a lot of different options trading strategies to see what works, to see what doesn't. And so many of us over the years have been really blessed to come across this great financial content. As a thank you, I really wanted to support them in some way. And the best way to support these guys is to actually sign up for their broker account, right? So sign up, open an account over at TastyTrade, I think is the best way to show support. And that's what I did a few years ago. When it comes to pricing and fees, it's very competitive. So TastyTrade, they only charge you $1 per options contract on options on stocks and ETFs. So $1 per contract with a maximum of $10 per leg. So if you do 10 contracts, that's only $10 per leg, right? It'll never be more than that. So if you did 100 contracts, so maybe you sold 100 puts, what's your commission? Well, it's $10 because it's capped at that $10 mark. Options on futures are a little more. You can see $250. Options on micro futures, since they're a smaller product, they only charge you $150. And with stocks and ETFs, if you just want to buy shares of stock, they don't charge you anything for that. One of the most important things that TastyTrade does as far as commissions is they do not charge a closing commission on options. So you can see options on stocks and options on futures, they do not charge you to close a position. They also don't charge you a fee to close a stock position either. Now, why is this important? Well, we have talked about so many times on camera on this channel how it is very advantageous for you to get out of your options trades well before expiration. Get out of your trades early, because that really reduces your risk. It also enhances your profitability. And back in the day, before a lot of these brokers started reducing their fees, commissions used to be really, really expensive. It used to cost a lot of money to trade stocks and options and futures. And a lot of people, what they were doing is they didn't want to pay a closing cost on an options position. So they would just always let their options run to expiration, right? Because they didn't want to pay the closing cost. And that's dangerous. That's stupid. And the TastyTrade guys, they know it's stupid because they're options traders, and they don't want you to sit there and hold on to a position because you don't want to pay a fee or a commission, right? So they have made it very advantageous for you to just go ahead and get out of your positions early, and you're not going to be punished at all because you will not be charged for closing that options position. Now let's talk about the trading platform itself. So let me move over to the actual TastyTrade platform here. One of the things you'll notice if you're coming from other trading platforms is TastyTrade really is heavily focused on watch list. This, again, it was built by former floor traders, and one of the things that these professionals would do is they were really focused on, reading the ticker tape. They were reading, what the bid-ask spread, the latest change of things. So they really liked watch lists. You can tell because you have this watch list over here in the left-hand column. Now, when you first open the app, I think it's collapsed all the way down. You only have the symbol and whatever the current last price is, but you can make this a lot bigger, and you can add extra columns of information like I have done. For me, I like having last. I also like having change percentage, the bid-ask spread. I also like knowing the IVR, which is IV rank, as well as IVX, which is the actual implied volatility of that underlying. When it comes to the watch list, they have a lot of preset watch lists that you can choose from. You can see we have the Tasty group here, and then you have the submenu of things, everything from AI stocks to Tony Batista's watch list. Tony Batista is one of the hosts on Tasty Live. You also have Tom Sosnoff's watch list, again, one of the hosts on Tasty Live. You have everything that's near their 52-week low as well as 52-week high. You have the fast movers, so the stocks that are really moving around today. You have the hourly top equities. If I click that, you can see these are the products that most people are trading right now as far as what has the most volume. If I go back into the watch list, you have things like crypto ETFs. You have your dividend watch list for those of you that are dividend investors. You have earnings watch list. This is going to list all the stocks that have earnings coming up in the next few days. You have some futures watch list. You have a liquidity watch list, a volatility watch list, market indice watch list. If I wanted, for example, the NASDAQ 100, it would list the 100 stocks in the NASDAQ 100. Or I could take a look at the Dow 30 or the S&P 500 as far as market indices. We could break it down by sectors if I wanted to view one of the 12 market sectors. For example, if I wanted to take a look at the utilities sector, there it is. And if I wanted to, I could take a look at my positions. So the positions watch list is everything that I currently have a position in. And of course, you can create your own watch list. Everything below the separator line here are watch lists that I've created. For example, ETFs. This is just a huge watch list of a whole bunch of ETFs that I've thrown into a watch list. And ETFs that I would occasionally trade. I also have other ETF watch lists. For example, this one here, corporate bond ETFs, right? Just in case I ever want to trade some of them. I also have ETFs, international markets. So these are the international market ETFs. If I want to trade, for example, Mexico or Brazil or whatever it happens to be, I can do that. And it's really easy to create these watch lists. It's also really easy to add a symbol to these watch lists because you have this box down here, add symbol. Just type the ticker and then hit the plus sign, and that ticker will be added to the particular watch list you're on. And when I say that the TastyTrade platform is really focused on watch lists, there are watch lists all over the place. You don't have to necessarily do the watch list in this left-hand sidebar. If you wanted to, you could go to the middle section here, this middle window that's got all of these tabs. This tab here, this watch list icon here, if I click on it, that can be a watch list window if you want that. And of course, because it's a bigger window, you could display more columns of information. If I move my head out of the way, you can see all the columns of information I have on this particular watch list. Right now, this watch list is set to the NASDAQ 100, but again, I could change that to anything if I wanted to. For example, take a look at the S&P 500. I could sort them by symbol or last or change percentage if I want to see what's really down today or really up today. You know, we could do it from ascending order or descending order based on change percentage. If I want to change some of the columns of information here in the watch list, I could click on the little cogwheel here, and you can see this is everything that is currently being displayed in the watch list. Here's things that I could add. So if I wanted to, for example, add the liquidity rating to the watch list, I could just click on it, and now you can see I've added liquidity here, which is just a meter, a star meter. So if it's got 2 stars, it's not very liquid. If it's got 3 stars, it's pretty liquid. If it's got 4 stars, it's a really liquid underlying. And there's one other place you can view watch list. If you don't want to view a watch list in the left sidebar or the center main window, you could also pop out this right sidebar, hit the arrow here, and you get this pop-out sidebar, and there is an icon here, the same icon for watch list, and you don't have as much room in this window, but you could have a little watch list here, although you could make this bigger. Instead of having this as a little slide out window, what you could do is you could actually hit the arrow here, and it will actually make this a column, a fixed column that you could adjust. For example, if I make this one smaller, I could make this one bigger, you know, and then you could have this watch list here on the right. Because I trade on a triple monitor system, so I've got 3 monitors, what I like to do is I like to click this arrow here, the pop out arrow, and it actually makes this a separate window that I could then move to a different monitor, and that's typically what I do. I have that on a separate monitor. I also like to click on this little grid icon here, this grid view of charts. They call these the Tasty charts, which is this little 2x2 grid of charts, and you can see it has a pop out arrow. So I pop that out as well, and I send that to a different monitor. And if I go to that monitor, let me go ahead and actually put these in the arrangement I typically have. So this is typically how I have one of my monitors. I have one of my monitors be that right-hand sidebar that's typically part of the main window. I pop that out and put it on a different window, and right next to it I have this 2x2 grid that right now is monitoring the 4 major futures products that I want to monitor, which is the S&P 500, the NASDAQ 100, the Russell 2000, as well as the VIX futures, because I think these 4 products here in this grid, they really give you the best view of what is happening in the equity market. So that is how I have my second monitor arranged. Let me go back to the first monitor, and how I have this typically arranged is how you guys typically see it on camera, right? I have the watch list over here. I have my positions here. So let's talk about the positions tab, because we've talked about the watch list enough. Now, probably you're going to spend most of your time looking at watch list as well as monitoring your positions tab. So the positions tab have all of your open positions. If I click on a particular position, for example, this Apple position, you can see it expands. It shows me all the open options positions on that symbol. You can see right now I'm up $2 on the position. I've had this position open for 2 days. I've got this column here for days open. You can see DTE, days to expiration. I've got 49 days left till expiration of this short put. Some other columns of information I've chosen to add is other than P&L on the day, P&L on open. So since it's been opened, I haven't made anything. I haven't lost $1, I haven't made $1. This position basically hasn't done anything since I opened it 2 days ago. I also have P&L open percentage. That gives me the percentage, because so many of us love to take off our positions, you know, when they reach 50% max profit. And sometimes it's hard to gauge, are you at 50% max profit or not? So what I did is I went ahead and added this column here. So if this number reaches 50 or more, I know I'm already at 50% of max profit. I should probably go ahead and take that position off at that point. Other really useful information to have is POP, which is your probability of profit. You can see that my POP on this trade currently is 87%. So I'm 87% likely to make a profit on this trade right now. I also have the trade price and the mark. So the trade price is where I opened the position. So, you know, I sold this option essentially for 96 cents. And you can see the mark right now is 96 cents. So 96 cents and 96 cents, you can see the difference between those is 0. That's why I'm not up or down on the position. I'm dead even. But if I wanted a different position, let's check out this AMD position. This short put has gone against me. You can see $54 down. But if I didn't have P&L open, I could simply look at the trade price versus the mark and see that I'm down $54 because I sold this at 125. That's the trade price. And you can see right now the mark is minus 179. 125 minus 179. I'm down 54 cents, which is $54, because options represent 100 shares of the underlying. So you always have to times everything by 100. Some other columns of information I have are the delta, the theta, the vega, as well as the indicator column. The indicator column has these little badges here that tell you if a dividend is upcoming or if a earnings announcement is upcoming. And that's really something you want to keep track of if you're trading stock options, is because if an earnings announcement is coming up, you may or may not want to be trading that position, because that position is going to have a lot of volatility and it may make a major move in one direction or another. So it is wise to keep track of something having earnings. The other way you can figure out if a stock has earnings is go to the trade page. So if I go to AMD, for example, if AMD had earnings coming up on one of these options chain, there would be like a purple line above it with a date basically letting me know that there was earnings coming up. Let me find something that has earnings. So let me go to Tasty. Let's go to the earnings watch list, all earnings, and I'm just going to pick something. And you can see the 21 DTE cycle has that purple line that has the E on it. That's letting me know earnings are coming up. If I move my head, the actual date is June 6th, and it is before the bell opens. It's hard to see. I know it's going to be very hard to see on the video, but it has a like a less than sign and then the bell That is letting me know that that announcement is going to happen before the opening bell. If it was an earnings announcement after the bell, it would have the bell first and then a greater than sign after the bell. One of the cool thing about TastyTrade is this options chain, because the options chain obviously is where you enter orders. If you wanted to enter an order, for example, you just find the DTE you want to play, right? So find the options cycle you want to trade in, maybe the 49 DTE cycle here that I've already got a position open in Apple, but let's imagine I don't. And if you wanted to, you could use this menu here, which has some pre-configured option strategies. For example, if I wanted to put on an iron condor, I would just hit go, and it's going to throw up a random iron condor, right? You're going to probably have to adjust the strikes. You may not like the strikes it picked, so you may have to fiddle around with it. But you know, that's typically not the way I put on trades, because if I'm going to have to move the strikes to figure out, you know, which strikes I like, I'm not going to fool with the pre-selection menu here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to either click on the bid price to sell an option, or click on the ask price to buy the option. So if I wanted to do an iron condor, I would just sell, buy, and then over here sell, buy, right? And that's a lot quicker, and I got to choose the actual strikes I wanted rather than, you know, fooling with this menu. Although this menu could be useful if you didn't know how to properly construct some of these trades. For example, if you didn't really know the order of the long strike versus the short strike on an iron condor. But honestly, I never use this menu to put on an options trade. Sometimes I will buy stock or futures by using this, because you can just go long stock, or if I wanted to, short stock, right, and hit go. So let's do a long position. Long stock, hit go, and you can see it's going to buy 100 shares of Apple. And honestly, I don't even need to use that menu to buy or sell stock, because on most trading platforms, including TastyTrade, if I wanted to, I could go to the ticker for Apple, right? And then the bid ask. If I wanted to buy stock, just click on the ask price, and you can see buy 100 shares. Let me clear that. If I wanted to short Apple, I could click the bid price. So if I click on the bid, short 100 shares. So really, this is not something that most of you guys are probably going to use once you get comfortable trading options. You're just going to click on the bid and ask for the stock if you want to buy or short the stock, right? And also on options, you're just going to click on the bid and ask in the options chain to get short or long that particular option. Some of the other tabs you may or may not find all that useful. The activity tab tells you all of your positions, you know, everything you've opened and closed. So it shows you basically a history, but you can filter it by date. There is an actual history tab, which is strange that they have activity and history, because they're kind of similar, but the way they display information, columns of information, is a little different. That's my history for today. If I wanted to go back, 30 days, I could take a look at the last month and all the various trades I've made. Looks like I've made 186 trades here in the last 30 days. That's about normal for me. I typically put on probably about 200 to 250 options trades every month. Some of the tabs that I almost never click on and use, there is a fundamental tab here. So if you want fundamental information about a particular company, so this is not going to work on ETFs or futures, but if it's a stock like Apple, an actual company, you could get the latest news, you could get financial information, various ratios, you could take a look at what people are predicting. I'm assuming this is financial analysts. Well, what's the financial analysts out there? Are they recommending Apple as a buy or a sell? By the way, you really can't trust this kind of stuff. I don't know if a lot of you guys know about this. I'm just going to briefly mention it. Is most stock analysts are trying to have a bullish bias. They know most people want the stock market to go up, so they're heavily leaning toward buying stock more than ever selling a stock. So it's rare that you're going to see most analysts ever recommend selling a stock. So everything's a buy, for example. So never trust this kind of stuff. The about information tells us a little history about the company, as well as, I guess, the officers of the company as well. Again, I never take a look at this fundamental tab. Another one that I rarely take a look at is the follow tab. This follow tab is following some of the guys on Tasty Live. the Tasty Live video content network. This is mirroring some of the trades they're doing. And if you wanted to put on some of the trades they're doing, you take a look at it. If you wanted to, you just click on the trade and you can duplicate the trades they made. You can filter by the various personalities on Tasty Live. But I would say 95% of the time that I spend in this main window is either on the positions tab or the trade tab if I'm making a trade, right? So these two tabs are where you're going to spend most of your time. Now, I know some of you are practically screaming at your monitors right now watching this video. Hey, you didn't click on the chart tab. Shouldn't you look at a chart every now and then? Well, if you want to, you can look at the charts. I actually don't spend that much time looking at charts because honestly, the charts are mostly irrelevant. I'll take a quick look. Like if I'm not sure where a particular underlying stock has been trading, I might take a look at the chart to see if it's near the high of its range or near the low of its range. But I don't do technical analysis really at all, and I don't care about fundamental analysis at all either. So I rarely take a look at the charts. Now these charts here, they're not the default charts. I have customized them a little bit as far as the coloring. I customized the colors of the volume bars. I wanted everything basically to be red and green with some variation of yellow and orange in the middle, just because I thought it looked cool on screen as far as YouTube. I don't know if you guys find that chart a very attractive, a very pretty chart, but I find that quite useful. As far as technical indicators, I did add some technical indicators because I think most viewers expect people on YouTube that talk about trading and investing to have technical indicators on their charts. And, you know, these are at least somewhat useful technical indicators, even for somebody like me that doesn't like technical analysis, because, for example, these are the Bollinger Bands. The Bollinger Bands are basically telling me where a 2 standard deviation move in either direction is. The wider the bands, the more volatile the stock. The narrower the bands, the less volatile the stock is. And that is useful for somebody that wants to know a little bit about volatility, because I'm an options seller. I want to know if volatility is currently high or not high. Also, I have the IVR indicator down here, this bottom indicator. This is TastyTrade's IVR indicator. It's letting me know the history of IV rank in this underlying. The other indicator I have here is the Ray. The Ray tells us basically the bull power and the bear power, the fight between the bulls and the bears. I really don't use this. This is just something to have on the screen. But if you wanted to add other indicators, if you had other indicators in mind, they do have a ton of indicators built into TastyTrade. So you just look for your favorite indicator. For example, if I wanted to, I could go add, maybe I want to add the MACD. Let me take a look at the MACD. And here it is, MACD with prices. Yeah, let's click on that. And that added the MACD. And again, I could customize some of the colors if I really wanted to. Now, for me, I didn't really want to add that. But one thing you can do, if I move my head out of the way, is you can actually save the layout of your chart. So once you add your favorite indicators and you customize the colors, if you want to save them for later use, hit the save button and it will save that as a file. And then you see the load button, you could load that file later. And that's how, for example, if I switch over to this other monitor, you know, I get the same colors for the candles and the volume bars over here as I have in this window. It's because I saved this layout minus all the technical indicators, because they wouldn't make sense in these smaller windows. But you just save those layouts so that way you always have your charts looking exactly the way you want. Some of the really neat technology built into TastyTrade, if I go back to the trade tab, we looked at the options chain, but one of the things you can do is you can analyze your position. You could go to the curve analysis. This is my current trade in Apple, which is a short put, right? That's the standard risk profile for a short put. You can see I've got unlimited risk to the downside. And on the upside, of course, I have a limited reward, right? My max reward, of course, is always the credit I receive on a short option. And you can see you have both your P&L for expiration as well as your theoretical P&L displayed. So the expiration P&L is the green and red shaded areas. That's your standard risk profile. You know, if the position finishes in the money or out of the money, what am I going to make? Well, it depends on where exactly I'm at. Am I in the red area or the green area? But you also have this orange line. That is the theoretical P&L. So let's theoretically say Apple drops from 191, where it's trading right now, to 185. What would be my loss on this position? Well, if I hover over it, I would lose $85. You can see my P&L theoretical is negative 85.60. But if we were at expiration, I would actually win on the trade because I would finish out of the money. I would get to keep the entire credit on the trade. So keep track that you do have two different values you can track, the expiration P&L and the theoretical P&L, because they are not the same. And because you're not typically holding options all the way to expiration, you may want to pay attention to that theoretical P&L number a little more than probably a lot of traders do. If you want to play with the analysis, if I go back to this right-hand sidebar that's typically part of your main window, you can go to the analysis tab here, and you could play with the date. You can move the date forward in time. You can also play with the implied volatility going forward in time, and that would adjust this theoretical P&L line to match the date and volatility. That way you can play with the numbers to see, hey, if this happens, what's going to happen to my options position? Am I going to be up big? Am I going to be down big? Some other neat things you can do in that right-hand sidebar window. I don't play with these too often, but you do have this alert feature where if you wanted to, you can add an alert where you'll get an email, you'll get a custom alert sent to you when Apple does something, that whatever trigger you set, maybe I want a certain price level. Once it reaches this price level, alert me, let me know, right? But one of the really neat features, and I don't think anybody else really has something like this, is this chain feature. So this is the options chain feature. So this is set to 30 days. So this is my 30-day positions here, my last few positions in Apple. And you can see it keeps track of options chains, especially if you're rolling. Now, I didn't have any rolls here. Let me go to something I know I had a lot of rolls in. So I've been in a lot of ARM positions here in the last month, but I didn't do any rolling there. Let me go to XBI. I know I have a position in this underlying. Yes, this right here, I have rolled like 12 times. Like I started all the way here with a strangle and it went against me, and I've been fighting it for like 2 months. And you can see right now I'm basically up $24. Really, I hadn't lost or made anything on the position. I've just kind of been hanging out in it, but I've had to roll strikes up and down. I've had to roll out in time, but it keeps track of these chains. And that's just a really neat feature if you're ever wondering, because without this chain, I would have no idea this XBI position that I'm currently in. How did I even get into this thing? Well, I got into this thing, if I go back into the chain, way back in the middle of February by selling the 83 put and the 105 call. But somehow now I've entered, I've eventually morphed into a 82 put and a 98 call all the way out in, well, June 1st is tomorrow, right? So I have been in this position for like 3 or 4 months. I need to close this position because at this point, I really don't care about making any money in this position or losing any money in this position at this point. I just want to get out of the damn thing. Some really cool pop-out windows you can do here is you can do this dashboard. I never use this thing, but it's like a little home page that's going to have some news as well as upcoming earnings announcements and things like that. So you get a little P&L graph. You get, again, some headlines. You get basically some watch lists for earnings, dividend champions, tasty fast movers. I don't find this window all that useful. One I do find useful, though, is this P&L pop out. If I click P&L on the positions tab, this gives me a little view of all of my positions based on their beta weighted deltas. What would happen if SPY dropped 25 points tomorrow? We're currently, SPY's trading around 525. What if it dropped to 500? Well, you could expect my account to lose about $3,600 based on my beta weighted deltas as well as the beta weighted implied volatility of all my various positions. I'd lose quite a bit of money. Now, if SPY went up from 525 to 550, I would make about $6,500, right? So that's based on my current positions. Now, if I wanted to turn some of these positions off, for example, I know I have a ton of long beta weighted deltas tied up into this ARM position because I own 200 shares of ARM right now. I turn that off, the P&L graph all of a sudden changes drastically because all of those long deltas that are tied up into ARM go away. And you can see now if the market really dropped, from 525 to 500 in SPY, it doesn't hurt me hardly at all because most of my other positions are not so directionally long the market, right? Most of them are strangles. Some of them are really small trades, but that big trade in ARM that I'm currently wrapped up in, I have a lot of directional risk. So I need to get out of that arm position sometime soon, but I've been trying to fight my way back to break even. I was actually down on this position, like $6,500 at one point, and I fought all the way back to just being down $2,600. I'm going to give it probably another week, and then at that point, I'm probably, hey, wherever it ends up, I'm just going to move on. One other cool pop-out window, if I move my head, is the cap requirement pop-out. So let me click that. And the cap requirement, you can pick and choose, various underlines that you want to see some risk analysis on. For example, if you want to see what happens to these positions if implied volatility goes down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5%, whatever it happens to be. I never play with this tab. I really don't know much about it. But one I do find really useful is the allocation tab here, which tells you how is your buying power being allocated in various positions. You can see I've got a lot of money tied up in that arm position. But again, I'm going to try to get out of that soon. I've got some shares of SPYG and SCHD, but those really don't matter. And then all the option positions over here, you can see I've got that Apple short put is taking up some buying power requirement. And you can see I've got the micro ES futures. I've got several options in the micro ES futures, but they're only taking up 4% of my buying power. That's kind of surprising. I thought my positions would take up more than that. But again, I haven't actually looked at that window. Maybe I should look at that window more often. That way I know exactly what my capital requirements in all these positions are. So that is something that I think you would find useful. If you're also one of those people that really want to pay attention to capital requirement, you could actually add capital requirement as one of the columns in your positions tab. So these columns here, one of the options is capital requirement if you wanted to add that to the positions tab. A really neat trick I want to show you guys if you're new to TastyTrade, because most Tasty traders don't know this exists. Did you know you can actually take a look at a chart of the IVR of any underlying? For example, let's do Apple. If I do the ticker symbol Apple.IVR, it will actually give me a chart of Apple's IVR. That's not Apple's stock price. That is its IVR history over the last year or so. And again, this is kind of one of those hacks in TastyTrade I don't think most people know actually exists. Now let me go back to just the standard Apple chart. Let me go to the options chain. So let me go to the table view, the options chain. One other cool thing that I don't think most people know is you can actually view a chart of the option itself rather than the underlying stock. For example, if I wanted to see a chart of the 165 put here, what I could do is I could right click on the put and I could view the option in chart. And again, this chart, this is not actually Apple's stock chart. This is the chart of that option, the history of the option's price, that 165 strike price. So that is, again, a neat little hack I don't think most people actually know exists in TastyTrade. So that's just a really quick whirlwind tour of TastyTrade, the platform. I only covered probably about 10% of the features that are actually in the platform. And the reason is I don't actually use a lot of the features in this platform because there's features, for example, for trading crypto, as far as buying and selling actual crypto, like buying Bitcoin and Ethereum, things like that. I never use that. Also, there's features for pairs trading. I don't do any pairs trading. There's features for active trading, as far as futures active trading, where you just click a button to buy and sell a future. I don't really do that. I'm not sitting around trying to day trade futures. That's not my style of trading. For my style of trading, though, again, I probably put on 8 to 10 options trades every trading day. Typically, the first 30 minutes of each trading day when the stock market opens, I monitor my positions. I take a look at my current open positions. I close anything that needs to be closed. If I'm really light on positions, I'm not using much buying power, I'll go ahead and put on 1, 2, 3 new positions, and then I'll call it a day, and then I'll go about the rest of my day. I'll go to the gym and work out, or I'll make video content for YouTube or whatever. I don't sit around and actually watch the markets all day. That's not what I think trading should be about. Trading should be something that doesn't take all of your time, because what's the point of trading if it dominates your day, right? If you've got to be stuck staring at a screen all day, you're probably trading the wrong kind of strategies. For me, I think trading should be about freedom, as far as freedom of time. I want more time to do what I want to do out in life. And that's what options trading has allowed me to do here in the last few years. So if you want to open an account with TastyTrade, maybe you're new to options trading, or maybe you have an account with another broker and they just don't have the features that TastyTrade has, because many brokers don't cater to options traders. They don't cover all the Greeks and have all these fancy features and the risk profile and everything like that. A lot of these other brokers just aren't good for options trading. And if you want to move an account over to TastyTrade, check out the description below. I have an affiliate link for sign up, so I'd appreciate it if you use that. I don't know if it would help me out in any way. I don't know what kind of monetary benefit it would be, but I do have an affiliate link there just in case you want to use it. Peace, guys.